So basically, the money fraud was going on, and so what ended up happening was they were being told by the government, people higher up, to go and investigate this wedding crime, and they never were investigating it. The other thing that they were being told by the government to do was stop running these money frauds, and they never did stop running it. Now, the people that are running these money frauds for law enforcement are their BFFs, and this basically was going on in the year 2023, when they were running their money fraud, but also trying to frame me for the wedding incident, while knowing clearly that there was a wedding incident that they were supposed to be investigating. Now, the thing about it is, yeah, they couldn't care less. So basically, their own BFFs, law enforcement's own BFFs, ran these frauds. Those BFFs of law enforcement would be like people like Uncle Joey that law enforcement couldn't care less about. All they want is their sex scheme ads and their money fraud. The reason that law enforcement runs their sex scheme ads for Uncle Joey so aggressively is because they get sex schemes from Uncle Joey's in-laws, and they want to give it basically reciprocal sex scheme ads for Uncle Joey, so that they could say that, oh, we got sex from you, but we gave it to someone else in return. Basically, yeah, incredibly weird. But the thing about it is, government's been nagging law enforcement since 2022 to actually do two things. One was investigate the wedding crime, which they never investigated, since all their BFFs would be involved in it. People like Assad, who was narrating in the trial against me right now, and as soon as he's caught narrating, law enforcement does not want me to talk about this, which is why they're hitting my foot. Well, anyways, basically, Assad was caught narrating. Assad was narrating in the trial, and he was caught being involved in the wedding incident crime. In the end, law enforcement just tells Assad, don't say a word, don't do any questioning, just walk out of here. And Assad literally just packs up and he leaves the court without ever answering a single question, despite being involved in it, despite committing the crime, despite spending the entire wedding where I would not even remotely be present. And obviously, because I couldn't afford to go, my mother was working at fast foods, I wasn't present anywhere basically when I was a child. Once I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity, all I did was stay at home and work hard with my mother. So basically, Assad was present everywhere, and during the entire wedding incident, he'd be seen speaking with the other people in the wedding about the crime. He never was questioned about a thing. Law enforcement basically covered over this crime, becoming accomplices in the crime themselves, and law enforcement did not want like, even right now they're hitting my foot, so I would end the call. I mean, not the call, but the video. Law enforcement does not want to investigate the crime, obviously, because it would lead to them. So the government's been nagging at them. They're the ones who made the false testimony against me in late 2023 to try to frame me for it before, after confessing that I had nothing to do with it, because they only did it in their hour of desperation there, because they were just like, we got to get this, we got to do this, we got to do it right now. Because if they didn't do it, then I kept nagging at them that I want to study, I want to study, I want to study, I want to study. August 25th, 2023 had occurred, and they had my brain savant locked up, and I knew that they purposely had it locked up. And then other people, like, there were people in the US, I don't want to name their names, they found out about it too, so they got it on law enforcement's back too. They're like, let him study. Some poor kid who grew up poor in his life, even if someone said anything bad around him when he was a child, it was your own BFF's law enforcement. And the other thing is, my mother had already spoken with law enforcement about it. She fulfilled a promise that she made. The moment I became slightly mentally mature, I never was seen in any settings where anything even remotely considered bad could be ever said around me ever again in my entire life, despite me only living with my mother my entire life, and she's never been heard uttering one bad word considered bad her entire life. Bad, racist, anyways, shape or form bad. And so basically, people found out about it, and they knew, obviously, they did 1 + 1 = 2. They knew exactly what was going on. And so after August 25th, 2023, when I won my court case, people were just telling law enforcement, like, they were just like, hey, look, you got to let him study. This has nothing to do with anything, and you've been committing all kinds of frauds and crimes and schemes, and you got to let him study, as in me. And so law enforcement was in their hour of desperation. So what they did was they quickly went and they made a false testimony against me to the president. And what they didn't know was, obviously, it was a real crime when you go to the president and you testify. And so what ended up happening was, like, the government got on their backs. So they were trying to get the government on my back, back, and the government got on their back. She's obviously, now they know about a crime, and the government's like, why haven't you investigated it yet? If there's a crime, then why is there no investigation? There was zero investigation done. No one was ever questioned about it, and the people who would be found in the crime scene committing the crime and speaking about it during the entire wedding would be people like Assad. And Assad is right now was narrating for law enforcement in this trial, which was incredibly ironic. And I told the course in the start, like, you definitely want to check the wedding crime. He was definitely involved, and not only would he be involved, he was always there with the other adults, and there's no way he would miss out on the wedding. There's no way he would miss out on the crime. He was definitely involved, and he was present, and during the entire wedding you would find him speaking with the other people who committed the crime, and law enforcement basically knew all of this. They couldn't care less. So the entire year of 2023, when they were trying to frame me for it, they were running their sex schemes for Uncle Joey, they were running their money fraud. They couldn't care less. They wanted people to shut up, basically, in asking law enforcement to let me use my brain savant to study, mainly because law enforcement, until this very day today, is scared that their sex schemes are going to be ruined. Basically, if girls finally see my brain savant powers in the 30-minute brain savant test, then they lose their power and influence over these girls. Law enforcement basically thinks that it's their job to be running sex schemes at work or money fraud at work, and that this investigations that they're supposed to be running is irrelevant. And so they will not do a 30-minute test, only because they're scared that they're going to lose power and influence over these girls, and that the girls would listen to me instead of them. And obviously I would tell the girls, don't listen to these people. They're a bunch of lowlifes. They're just running sex schemes and money fraud the entire time I've known them. So basically that is what the main story is behind it. So people got on law enforcement's back, and they're just like, let him study, like, it has nothing to do with anything. He just won his case, and if anyone said anything bad around him when he was a child, then you definitely knew about it yourselves, law enforcement, because you've been BFFs with that person since 2001, and you never cared a thing about it. And so at this point in time, basically law enforcement couldn't do that theory because people knew too much. So they tried to use a wedding crime, and they got caught in that crime themselves, because after 2023, the government got on law enforcement's back, and they basically started telling law enforcement to investigate this wedding crime that law enforcement was refusing to investigate. That was 2023. Right now it is July 15, 2026. They haven't done an ounce of investigation, absolutely 0%. And not only that, if their money fraud ended, it only ended like a month or two ago. It didn't end like before then. The government was nagging at them to end the money fraud as well, which was not ending. Right now it's July 2026, July 15, 2026, because it's past midnight now. So it would only end like 2 months ago maximum, not any time before then. And so basically, so the government was on their back to do this, and they never did do it. That's why people in the government do not like law enforcement, because they know for a fact that law enforcement has done absolutely not an ounce of investigation from 2001 till this very day today. In fact, law enforcement even knew about crimes that they were supposed to be investigating, and they never did investigate any of those crimes. Instead, they covered over them, and they ran only because the people that were committing the crimes were their own BFFs, which is why people are so eager to give them money from their savings, because they know for a fact that at the end of the day, law enforcement is going to help them run more money frauds, that is going to help them get money for themselves. And what that is going to do is not only money for themselves, but also immunity from crimes. So basically, if people commit crimes with law enforcement in terms of sex and money, they not only get sex and money, but they also get immunity from crimes, which makes no sense, and it's not something that should happen in this country. Even in third world countries, that's something that's frowned upon, but that is the honest truth. And that's why people are so eager to give law enforcement money from their savings, because they know at the end of the day they're going to get money from frauds in return, and they're also going to get immunity from prosecution, and basically immunity to do whatever the heck they feel like doing. So you have people, the biggest example of this is someone like Assad. Assad is basically narrating in the trial against me, which I found absolutely fascinating, despite Assad being involved in the crime, present in the crime scene, speaking of the crime with the people that committed the crime throughout the entire wedding, and in the end, when the courts finally investigated and find out that Assad was fully involved in the crime, along with numerous other ones that he knew about, never reported. Basically, Assad just simply packs up his things and leaves, like as if he's done nothing wrong. And law enforcement just basically tell him, "Do not answer a single question. Just walk out of here. Never talk about anything with anyone." And that's basically what Assad does. Law enforcement needs to be asked the question, "Whose side are you on?" Because clearly it looks like they're only there for sex and money. They couldn't care less about any investigations or any crimes or anything of that sort of nature. And that's why the government's against them, and the government knows their history. Before November 20th, 2025, people only found out about law enforcement because there was a false testimony made against me on November 20th, 2025, that was huge, and it created chaos and mass panic that law enforcement was basically planning before November 2025. And so basically what it is, yeah, the people who made the November 20th, 2025 false testimony against me were people like my dad, the greedy framer, begging his framer sisters to do so. And the reason he was doing so was to lock up my brain savant so that my mother could not get the brain savant money that he cannot get. Now, the thing about it is there have been multiple tests done on my brain savant, and law enforcement basically cheated on all the tests by using artificial intelligence. And what they would do is they would get artificial intelligence with 1 minute test to tell them exactly what would happen at the end of the 30-minute test if they did test it out. And what it ended up happening was they never did any of the 30-minute tests, even after I went to Moscow, Russia to do so, and even after I put it under oath that I will put it under writing with my signature that law enforcement did run an investigation, and I was wrong, and my theory was wrong against them, complete total lie, due to me not being Kim Peek Rain Man. If I would fall short of being Kim Peek Rain Man at the end of the 30-minute test, obviously law enforcement was not going to do it, because I know for a fact, I know how law enforcement is and how they think. They're more concerned about their sex games, and if they do a 30-minute test and artificial intelligence turns out to be telling the truth and me not being psychic, due to which I'm able to guess exactly what artificial intelligence told them about my brain savant powers being exactly like that of Kim Peek Rain Man. By the way, I don't talk like this. They're using drugs on me, so I can't talk. So basically, yeah, so the people who fabricated November 20th, 2025 against me were law enforcement who knew about it from before, and my dad's framer sisters. The thing about it is, right now, July 14th, morning of July 14th at 10:56 a.m., my dad, the greedy framer, who was sending me blackmail price tags for millions of euros all day, night long, from morning till night, now has switched over from that to pretty much just sending me the same Rio money transfer ad. It looks like this. Let me show you. This is what it looks like, and basically what it's saying is he's basically saying, just send me the money. So before, he was sending me blackmail price tags. So it started on July 9th. Again, right now, there were just like these blackmail price tags, and they were for first one was for $1.5 million. It was with his nickname Mona on it, and then the subsequent ones were all for millions of euros. This is 10:56 a.m. July 14th. Yeah, in the morning, just yesterday. So basically, now he's saying, just send me the money. Are you gonna send me the money or not? So basically, the last time I saw this ad was on December 29th, 2025 at 1:27 p.m., the exact moment that my dad, the greedy framer, got kicked out of the spokesperson stand for being found out to have ordered the November 20th, 2025 false testimony against me. That exact moment at December 29th, 2025 at 1:27 p.m., this is what he remembered. He remembered to ask me if I was willing to give him money or not. So this basically comes on the morning of July 14th, 2025, mainly because this only comes when he gives up, basically. And he's either found with numerous lies, false testimonies, or the last theory against me is being found to be false. So basically, I wrote a child journal, and the child journal ended up being really well. And so basically what ended up happening was my dad, the greedy framer, programmer sends me this to basically ask me, are you going to send me money or not? Are you going to give me money or not? But this is a last aggressive move from him to try to ask and see if he's going to get money from me or not. So basically, that's what it's all about. These people are all about money. They want money from me, and that's all that they care about. The point of them narrating this trial was not to help the courts or law enforcement, since all they've done is make lies and false testimonies against me, one after the other, after the other, after the other. It was basically to lock up my brain savant so that my mother could not get any of the money due to extreme envy. They found out through artificial intelligence that it was extremely rare and profitable. So basically what happened was they wanted to lock it up, and then now when they see that it being unlocked is inevitable, they send me every single time. They would send me money transfer, not money transfer ads, but they would send me blackmail price tags for millions of dollars first with his nickname Mona written on it, and then he would send me blackmail price tags for millions of euros over and over and over and over again, all day, night long, just to harass me and try to be like, oh, I'm going to take the money from you when you get it. Because basically artificial intelligence told him about my brain savant powers, and obviously he knows. So basically what happens is law enforcement cannot use some of the talking points themselves. They're not going to say use the child talking point, because if they do, then people are going to be like, well, his mother made the promise that she fulfilled. From the moment he became a mentally mature enough child, was never seen in any settings where anything even remotely considered bad could have been said around him ever again. And his mother's never been heard uttering one bad word considered her bad her entire life. But you law enforcement have been in that setting since 2001, told this very day today, running sex games and money fraud. And if the money fraud stopped right now, it only stopped like a month or two ago. That doesn't even count. So basically, yeah. So basically, they can't do the child thing, and they also cannot say, out of extreme envy, that my brain savant doesn't exist, it doesn't have monetary potential, or that I would not be able to do what I'm claiming that I'd be able to do, which I have said that I'd be able to get zero tolerance coffee done in 30 days time. And the way you know this is due to the fact that artificial intelligence has already said that I have from August 9, 2022, May 10, 2026, June 24, 2026, November 14, 2025, April 22nd, 2025, artificial intelligence has told law enforcement that I am Kim Peek Rain Man, and I do have these powers of photographic memory and also innovation that was tested a few weeks before April 22nd, 2025, and also focusing so that I don't have to take any breaks. And basically, I said that I could get zero tolerance coffee done in 30 days time. Obviously, a normal human being cannot get past 3 pages of medicinal chemistry. If you open up something like Arn Ball's medicinal chemistry, normal human being could not get past 3 of those pages. If I have the powers that artificial intelligence is saying I have, and if I'm telling the truth on that, and if this is the reason that law enforcement cannot do a 30-minute test to help save their life out of fear that they're going to lose their sex scheme ads with these girls, if what I'm saying is true and I could get 1,000 pages of those done in 1 day's time, then how long is this thing going to run away from me for? 30 days would be like 30,000 pages. It's not possible for me to be able to need more than 30 days to get zero tolerance coffee done. And so basically what happened was, if what artificial intelligence has said about me is true, which we know artificial intelligence has said about me since when the November 14 test result came out on December 10th, they had someone hit the back of my car really hard, the girl that was stalking me, due to which I ended up in the emergency room, clearly shows that the artificial intelligence report did say that my brain savant is the same as Kim Peek Rain Man. They're not letting me talk. The only difference is that I also have innovation and focusing. Innovation was tested a few weeks before April 22nd, 2025, and focusing was tested each and every single time. So basically, yeah, that's what happened when the November 14 test result came out. Ended up in the emergency room because the girl was stalking me. Basically, she was told that the artificial intelligence report did say that I am Kim Peek Rain Man, except I also have innovation and focusing. And except for that, you have May 10, 2026, the result coming out on June 7, 2026, and Kelly from law enforcement started stroking my penis right then and there, letting me know that obviously the test result had come out 21 days later, and then you had another test that was done June 24th, 2026, that where they let go of the ears while I was driving that day, June 24th, 2026, came out July 8th, 2026, and Kelly from law enforcement started doing the same exact things that she does, letting me know that these test results for the ears come out in 14 days instead of 21 days. So basically, yeah, those results will tell you that I am Kim Peek Rain Man, and except for that, I also have innovation and focusing. So basically, I said that it's not going to take me more than 30 days to get zero tolerance coffee done if what I said is true, and I'm not psychic enough to guess what artificial intelligence has said about my Brain Savant test done, the 1 minute long test. They're not letting me talk. So basically, yeah. And law enforcement, obviously, in the starting, they got really envious because their artificial intelligence did say that about my Brain Savant test. They couldn't argue against it. So basically, they would say stuff like, he can't do that. It's not possible. So basically, all I said was, if you don't have the guts to stare into reality for 30 minutes by doing a simple 30-minute Brain Savant test, then you have no right to be able to say whether it's going to take me 30 days to get zero tolerance coffee done or 100 days. If you want to talk about it, let's do a 30-minute test first, and then you can even laugh at me. You'll win your case if I'm anything short of Kim Peek Rain Man. You'll win your case, and you can even laugh at me if I'm anything short of that. And law enforcement obviously then shut their mouths, and they never talked about Brain Savant tests ever again. So who did they give it to? Same person, my dad, the greedy framer, same person. He says it on July 7th, oh, he can't do this, he can't do this. Well, what happened on July 9th and July 10th was he sent me at least 15 price tag blackmails for millions of euros all day and night long, due to which I told the courts, like, tell him to stop. I get the point, and courts get the point. He wants money, he wants to blackmail price tags. He won't get a single penny out of me. And the other thing is, I don't appreciate being blackmailed with these price tags of millions of euros all day and night long when I have no interest in giving anyone any money after my Brain Savant gets freed. And so right now, July 14th in the morning, he sends me this RIA money transfer ad that he basically sent me on December 29, 2025 at 1:27 p.m. Basically, it's saying, will you give me money or not? Because he gets sick and tired of it. In the end, when he sees that I'm about to win, this is exactly what he sends, the RIA money transfer ad that I just showed a little while ago. So basically, yeah. The other reason that these people feel like they're losing, except for the obvious reason that my child journal is working out great, the reason it's working out great is because they have nothing against me. Yeah. So there are mainly different reasons why this money transfer ad came to me. First of all, the child journal that I wrote was written really nicely, and it basically made great points. My mother did fulfill her promise and everything, and I was never seen in any settings ever again. Why was law enforcement in those settings from that time till now, and why did it take law enforcement so long to end their money fraud and like sex schemes are still ongoing right now with Uncle Joey's in-laws? Why are these things ongoing if they care so much about what someone might have said around me when I was a child being adult supervised, remotely considered bad? They're not letting me talk. So basically, yeah, if that is what law enforcement is so concerned about, then why haven't they cared about it for the past decades? And even after I was removed from every setting, when I became even a mentally mature enough child, as a child, law enforcement's been in those settings running their sex schemes and money fraud. I was never seen in those settings, and if I was ever seen in those settings, the people would know not to say anything stupid around me because my mother would not like it, and they're not going to say it around me anymore because I'm not a child anymore, that they're just simply adult supervising. And so yeah, they would never say anything stupid around me ever again because obviously now I'm not a child anymore. I would report it, and my mother was never there. Even when I was being adult supervised as a child, she was never there because obviously the entire reason was that she was working at fast food restaurants or factories at night, and she needed someone to watch me, adult supervise me while she was doing so. And she had already gotten an excuse from law enforcement when I was an 11-year-old child beforehand, which means that she fulfilled her promise the moment I became mentally mature enough as a child, never for me to ever be in any setting where anything remotely considered bad would be said around me ever again. Even if I was near any of law enforcement's BFS, they would never say it around me anymore because I was no longer a child anymore. And so, yeah, Basically, yeah. So, here's the thing I have to read out. The first thing that the courts need to understand is the fact that people are held responsible based on their age at the time, their environment around them, and whether they had an excuse to be in a setting where anything even remotely considered bad could have been said around them. My age when the war occurred was that of an 11-year-old child, and the adults around me who could have even remotely have said anything even remotely considered bad were all law enforcement's own BFFs, and I did have an excuse to be in that setting since my single and dependent mother had already spoken with law enforcement when I was an 11-year-old child, letting them know that I would only be present in any settings where anything even remotely excuse me, considered bad could ever be even remotely be said around me until I became a mentally mature enough child, a fact that my mother, my single dependent mother, repeated on February 15th at 8:30 p.m., and that I was no longer ever even remotely seen in any settings where anything even remotely considered bad was ever said around me ever again, a promise that my mother fulfilled the moment I became a mentally mature enough child to never be seen in any settings ever again. And if I was ever seen in any settings where any of law enforcement's BFFs would be present, it would not be to commit crimes like how Assad did with the wedding incident. So basically, if I was ever present in any setting ever again after I became a mentally mature enough child, no one would say anything stupid around me anymore because they're not adult supervising me anymore, and it's not me that needs a favor from them where they're just adult supervising me for free, and it's just a child who's merely just sitting there waiting for his mother to get off from work at fast food restaurants, or if it's like nighttime from factories. Yeah, it's not that case anymore. I don't need anyone else. If they would be around me ever again, then obviously if they would say anything stupid around me, then obviously I would probably report them. Like if it was that bad to be reported, first of all, if it would be that bad. But that being said, that is how it was. They're not letting me speak. So if I was mentally mature enough now, no, even if I was even remotely near any of law enforcement's BFFs, I don't know which ones they are, but if I was, no one would say anything bad around me ever again because I'm not a child being adult supervised, merely sitting there waiting for my mother to get off from work anymore. And the other reason is, the thing is, my mother's never been heard uttering one bad word considered bad her entire life. And the one time that she did catch Uncle Joey adult supervising me and on an online chat, I never saw Uncle Joey ever again after that. The facts and evidences will show you that. The phone conversation I had with my mother from Russia will tell you that as well, because I've been watched 24/7 since I was 11. I literally cannot lie about these things. So basically, where any of law enforcement's BFFs would be present, it would not be so after I would become mentally mature enough child. It would not be to commit crimes like how Assad did with the wedding incident and law enforcement committed by covering over it, and nor would I be present there to commit other crimes like the sex schemes or money fraud that law enforcement had been running till today, but that it would only be due to some sort of a necessity. So basically, even if I would be present in around any of law enforcement's BFFs after I would become even mentally mature enough as a child, it wouldn't be with the person even remotely saying anything bad around me, because I'm not a child anymore who doesn't even have the slightest bit of mental maturity anymore. But that I am basically a grown child, at least with the slightest bit of mental maturity, enough to be left at home alone now. Like my mother said the night of February 15th at 8:30 p.m., they're not letting me talk right now. So basically, yeah. So basically, if I would be seen around any of law enforcement's BFFs after I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity, it would never be with anyone saying even anything remotely considered bad around me. And if there was a crime occurring, like the what Assad would obviously be involved in, that I would obviously report it. So yeah. So after I became even slightly mentally mature enough as a child, I no longer was dependent. My mother was no longer dependent either. And if I was around any of law enforcement's BFFs ever again, which would never be Uncle Joey because he was caught with the online chat, then this is what would happen. During which time, the person, whomever it would be, law enforcement's BFS, if I wouldn't be near them, obviously they would never say anything remotely considered bad around me anymore. Because obviously, if it would be a crime like the one that I said was involved in, now I can actually report them. Whereas before, when I was not even slightly mentally mature enough as a child, I couldn't report anyone anyways. But now that I've gained the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child to even be left at home alone now, like my mother said on the night of February 15th at 8:30 p.m., I could even report them. So during which time, so after I became even slightly mentally mature enough as a child, they're not letting me talk. During which time the person would be fully aware to not ever say anything even remotely considered bad around me ever again, due to me no longer being a child, without even the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child, merely being adult supervised, and due to my mother herself never having been heard uttering one word considered bad throughout her entire life. And while the person would be, whoever would be law enforcement's BFFs, who could have said anything even remotely considered bad around me as a child when I did not even have the slightest bit of mental maturity, and I was being adult supervised due to force and necessity of a single mother, due to which my mother had already gotten an excuse when I was an 11-year-old child. They're not letting me talk. So basically, yeah. And while the person would be fully aware of the fact that even when they would have been adult supervising me as a child, like anyone, like law enforcement's BFFs, like Uncle Joey, without even the slightest bit of mental maturity, which would be me, my mother would not ever be present there, and I would obviously be present as a child without even the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child. Yeah, they're hitting my foot. I gotta take a break. I'm gonna come back in a second. Thank you.